Well, it's 4th of July weekend. Everyone's out partying. We're celebrating America's birthday. But next week, there's a birthday. We are going to celebrate the 78th birthday of Bon Scott. It was in 1980 that we lost Bon Scott in a tragic accident. But today we have John Jackson, an A&R guy from the music business, and I guess in charge of the Bon Scott estate that's overseeing the celebration of Bon's 78th birthday. John, welcome to Metal Mayhem ROC. How are you?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me.
Let's clear something up right from the beginning. Are you with the Bon Scott estate, or are you overseeing this 78th birthday celebration?
So I work for Bond's family, who all mostly reside in Australia still. But I'm in New York, so I'm overseeing like a lot of the stuff that happens in the US, including their merchandising plan, a bunch of marketing activities, music stuff with the folks over at Sony, and things of that nature. So a lot of the stuff we're doing for this birthday is US based. So we're, taking the bull by the horns and really trying to have everyone else celebrate with us.
Gotta ask, why the
Hey,
78th
John.
birthday? Oh, go ahead, Lance.
No, John, I was just going to say before we get into the events, how did you connect it to the Bon Scott family?
Well, I was fortunate enough to work on the ACDC catalog from about 2002 to about 2020. And in that time did a bunch of the production on things like the remasters of the catalog, the Family Jewels project, the Plug Me In project, and then the Backtracks project, which was the box set that looked like a guitar amp and actually is a guitar amp. You can plug in and play it and everything. So doing all that kind of stuff with the band and with the publishing company and the estates of various folks, it's got me connected into that universe. And then when I ended up leaving Sony and starting my own thing, they reached out right away and brought me on board to work with the family.
I was about to ask, why the 78th birthday? Why not in 2 years the 80th, or why
That's
the
a great
78th?
that's a great question. This whole thing started with the 75th birthday, our sort of involvement together and, creating things as we go along. And I think it's important that every year you mark the event so that people don't sort of forget. And then it's every 5 years you're trying to bring it out to people. So what we're trying to do is every year do uh, things at a certain level, some new products, events, that sort of thing, so that when the 80th does come in a couple of years, we can really blow it out and have a big celebration.
Mhm.
Hey, John, being a local New York City, New Jersey guy, I'm 54 years old, so I missed the cusp on, of course, the Bon Scott era, and even that sweet spot of maybe 5 or 6 years in the early to mid '80s, just being a teenager. But you have to catch up and learn about it. But obviously, CBGB's was, like that was the folklore when kid you learned about CBGB's. It was the place the Ramones and all these great bands came through the Lower East Side. It was not a good, safe place at the time, but there was something about it being all graffitied up. ACDC did that infamous 1977 concert after hours, a surprise show. And what's amazing is next Tuesday at Arlene's Grocery, also down in, let's say, the Village area, you're putting on this amazing, let's say, celebration or recreation of that concert. So take us through the event. Like, what's going to happen here? Who's in the band, and who are some of, let's say, the singers or people that you're going to have come in and guest in this event?
Well, so we've got 16 different singers who will be singing 16 different songs from all of Bond's era. The It's a Long Way to the Top through Highway to Hell. So we've designed it so that it's purposely sort of a small, packed, tiny rock club in the same way that the CBGB show would have been. And you can see pictures from that show of, they still did the Angus got up on the shoulders and the guy with the cord and going around the gig and everything. So it really was a proper ACDC show brought to the Lower East Side. So that's sort of the spirit that we wanted to get into. and my good friend Paul McGilloway, who's he's an Irishman, but he's basically the greatest Angus that's not Angus. He and I connected right away to start thinking about the show and who we could have and who we could invite and that sort of thing. And I out of total clarity will be playing Malcolm. So he and I will be the guitar players, and then we have Roger Daltrey's drummer currently, and Scott, the bassist from Rhino Bucket, will be the sort of core band. And like I said, we've got 16 different singers that we are working with. So it's going to be pretty awesome.
John,
Some of the singers go, John.
I want to comment that you look fairly young. Yeah,
I'm not. I'm not.
Okay. Myself, I'm 56, and I discovered ACDC in the 70s with TNT, and so I grew up in that Bond era. So you putting this whole project on, I'm very excited about it. But I just wanted to comment, when did you get into ACDC? And because you do look young, you ever have a chance to see Bond live?
Oh, no. I mean, I'll be 50. So
Okay.
I'm almost the same age as the band. But I'm same as I think Metal Walt here. I got into them,
Okay.
late 80s, early 90s. And then sort of went back with buying CDs and things of that nature, of the reissues of the albums and stuff like that. So but you have to remember, even in the real timeline of when Bond was around, like the Dirty Deeds record didn't come out until after Back in Black came out in America. So there was a ton of his material that sort of probably was confusing to people at the time. The Let There Be Rock movie as well didn't come out until after he passed away and after Brian was already the singer. So a lot of his folklore and stuff, I think, sort of grew after he passed away. And the band was getting bigger and doing his older songs in concert and everything. So it built along the way. And then hopefully the stuff that we did with the DVD projects, like Plug Me In, for instance, had a whole DVD of just Bond television and concert performances and stuff, has helped to sort of remind people of who he was and how important he was, which is really the goal of the whole estate, and really any estate is to make sure that your person is remembered and valued, and 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 years from now will be remembered for what they did and not slowly forgotten about.
You don't honestly believe that, no disrespect, that people forget about Bon Scott, because out of any band that has lost a member, I would have to say ACDC in the Bon Scott era is considered the holy grail out of any band that has lost a member.
No, I don't think. I mean, I don't think there's as much a danger of people forgetting him, but I think that in general, estates and sort of the older side of artists need to have things that occur so that people remember them, whether it's documentaries, biopics, tribute concerts or tours, or if you look at like the Jimi Hendrix estate, or what Queen's done for Freddie Mercury, that sort of thing. It takes a lot of work for people to remember and be exposed to them. We always say every year there's new kids that sit in the back of the bus in 6th, 7th, 8th grade who need to know who Led Zeppelin are and AC/DC and everybody else. So that doesn't happen by accident. You've got to continue to feed the nostalgia machine and now with streaming, continue to get people to listen and save the songs and understand who the different bands are and stuff like that. So it's a long game for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, John, just going back to the event itself. I mean, a couple questions. Number one, I mean, talking to companies like us that we're going to get out the word out on this event, but how do you go and spread the word on an event like this on a global basis? Like, was there any thought into, let's say, notifying the official ACDC camp of an event like this, or the Bon Scott family? Like, are you going to see any guests coming into this event to say, "Hey, we're here to celebrate this monumental event in a really cool little New York City club"?
Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, the band is busy, will be busy playing Wembley
Yeah.
Stadium for a couple of nights in this exact window. So they'll be busy and doing stuff. And actually the Bond's family will be there for those shows. So we'll be doing this on our own. But
Oh,
there's great, we have our own social media that we're getting the word out. There's amazing ACDC fan sites like the ACDC family and that sort of thing that have tons of reach and tons of and they've been helping with the promotion and telling people about the show and stuff. So it's we're doing it specifically as an underplay for sure. For this is our first year of trying to do this. So we're making it up as we go along a little bit. But the ACDC fans all over the world are amazing. And we just went to Bonfest, which is in the UK. That's sort of the official UK tribute to him in Kerrymere, where he was born. And that's I think they sold 6,000 tickets this year. And it's a big fent and a tent and a field, and they have events, and people come and talk and do. It's a weekend full of tributizing Bon, and I think next year is their 20th year of doing it. So they're much more established than us, but we're hoping to sort of have these events, at least one in the UK, one in the US, one in Australia, on an annual basis, so that we can just constantly have something to look forward to and remind people. Because the band won't be on tour every year, in the future. So we'll pick up the slack
sure.
and help out with the with that nostalgia piece.
John, let's talk about the merchandise, the clothing, the figurines, the whole merch rollout on this event.
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, we've got a lot of new things that are happening, thanks a lot in large part to the family. It was the family's idea to have these official tartan patterns, which are sort of Scottish plaids that have existed for a zillion years, but they had them designed and registered with the official UK tartan authority. And there's one that's sort of bluish and one that's kind of almost black, that are the heritage and the touring tartans. And we have companies who are creating new product from them, including shirts by a company called Dixon that does these amazing flannel shirts and have done stuff with Metallica and Megadeth and a bunch of different metal bands. And then a company called Gordon Nicholson, who's doing literally kilts that you can buy in these patterns, or vests or pants or wallets and keychains and that sort of thing. So it's these official sort of patterns that go back to his Scottish roots, and sort of show off the connection back to Scotland that's really important to the family.
Well, we love the Knucklebones line of stuff. Tony does a great job over there, and looks like
And
you
if
have a
you
couple different ones.
And if you notice, yeah, there's a new one that's the based on the Long Way to the Top flatbed truck video, where he's got the white vest and the bagpipes and but on around the bottom of that is the new tartan pattern, the blue tartan pattern. So they're working that in very nicely. And so that's the second Knucklebones. There was a Highway to Hell one before, and similar with the Super 7 action figures. There's a new one of those coming that's more of a earlier look for him. So yeah, I'm working on a coffee table book idea. It's all these little things that add up to, the grandiosity of making sure that he remains at the top of the heap.
Oh, sure.
Hey, John, there was one cool one. The coin, the silver coin through the Perth Mint. Talk about that one, because that one was like, I mean, we're friends. We've had Tony from Knucklebones on our show. He does amazing work, by the way, because we know how carefully he takes, he creates these ideation concepts, and if it's not right, it's not going out in the market. But talk about the coin.
Well, the coin was something that the Mint came to the family on. They do sort of localized Australian and UK figures as the side of a coin, a collectible coin, and they'll do 1,000 of them or 2,000 of them in different weights and price points and stuff like that. So they came to the family through our licensor Periscope, who also does ACDC and Pink Floyd and a zillion other great artists. And they wanted to do one, and it came just as King Charles was getting coronated. So it's like one of the early ones that has the celebrity on one side and King Charles on the other. So you get Bon Scott on one side and King Charles, which I imagine he would find hilarious.
Yeah,
But
exactly. Especially,
but it's a limited edition coin, it's proper currency coin. And I think it's almost sold out, but they're a couple $100 to buy one. So, I think it shows the sort of reach and the level of the fandom that he still enjoys.
Okay. John,
I
you're talking about the radio. You're having a radio simulcast, and some radio personalities on terrestrial and satellite radio are doing their dedications. Talk a little about the playlist, the special playlists you got going on, and the media angle of this whole celebration, because I found that to be a bit interesting.
Well, it's another thing. We started with the 75th, and we intend to do it every year, which is July 9th is basically Bon Scott Day, across, as much terrestrial and satellite radio as we can get our hands on, including the specialty shows like Alice Cooper and stuff like that. And really have, make sure that people are looking forward to, okay, on July 9th, we can have, play 6 Bon Scott songs, or, 5 ACDC songs that he sang, or whatever. Um, and just to sort of and have the DJs or the personalities, or other celebrities that come in and out during the year just say, happy birthday Bon Scott, he was my hero, whatever, and play one of the songs. So it's just sort of that constant alignment of that day, July 9th, as the day that we remember him, and we hold that sacred.
Well, it just so happens to be we do a live radio show on Monday nights.
There
And
you
I
go.
think Monday the 8th or 9th?
Monday's the 8th, Tuesday's the
Okay.
9th. So yeah, again, it'll be that week, sort of people can come and go, but if you guys wanted to do something,
We'll definitely do we have a segment on the show called Arena Rock Remembered, where we go back to vintage arena rock bands. We do a live set. So I think this week's going to be Bon Scott, and we would love to contribute in any way we can. But I
well,
grew
there you
up with
go.
Bon Scott.
Yeah, I mean, it's just getting your listeners, for
Yeah.
shows like you guys and others to just sort of click into that idea of like, oh yeah, I remember him, or I've never heard of Bon Scott before. Who is that? For people on the younger side, and you say, well, here's who he is, and they're hooked after that.
Yep. Yep. What about the Amazon? I see Amazon. You have an official web store on Amazon as well. That's
That
pretty impressive.
That's true. Yeah, that's something that a lot of bands are doing through their merch companies, is having official stores. So you'll find, a Bob Dylan store and an ACDC store and all that stuff. So we've been working on ours, again with Periscope, which has been great, to make one. And the great thing about Amazon, obviously, is that everybody on Earth shops there, but they'll roll them out in the different territories. So if you're a UK shopper, you don't have to pay, more than the cost of the shirt to get it shipped to you, which is sort of the case now. So as they roll them out throughout the world, anyone that shops at any Amazon can order, officially licensed t-shirts and hoodies and patches and cups and stuff like that. But also it helps us to police against bootleg stuff, which is a huge problem, at Amazon and everywhere else. So it serves two different purposes. It helps the fans get the real stuff, and, for as little out
Yeah.
of pocket as possible.
Hey, John, I was
John,
just thinking outside the.
go ahead,
I
Len.
was thinking outside the box here. You could do a little plug for your event through the Macy's 4th of July fireworks.
That would be a great idea. Yes, sir.
You slip in a little, you're going to hear pop music, Katy Perry and everything. You can slip a little ACDC in there, plug the show.
Sure, absolutely.
I know Walt has tons of questions about your professional career as well as I do, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you your take and your thoughts on the Jesse Fink Last Highway book that he released a couple years ago. Are you familiar with it? Do you have a take on it? And the question I have for you, if you are familiar and have a take, how come the worldwide main media hasn't picked up on Jesse's book and the effort that he put in to chronicle the last 2 years of Bond's life?
That's a big can of questions. And I think my official response to that is just no comment.
Fair
There's
enough. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask.
I know, no, I think there are many things in that book that are just simply untrue. And so, that's probably why more people haven't picked up on it. But other than that, no comment.
Fair enough. Well, then comment on your list of accomplishments. It's impressive. Tell us about yourself, John. What are you doing outside the Jesse or the Bon Scott?
Uh, well, let's see here. I have my own company that I do sort of consulting and marketing and stuff like that for a bunch of different artists, mostly on the sort of catalog music side. So artists that have long legacies of lots of music recorded. But I'm currently working as like Billy Joel's archivist. I worked with Roseanne Cash on a label that she started to put her own music out. I work with Steve Perry from Journey, doing his, sort of marketing, social media stuff. So yeah, a little bit of everything, but it's all under the umbrella of how do we make sure that these legends don't get forgotten about? And that's rolling off of a 25-year career that I had at Sony Music doing, box sets and reissues and campaigns around albums and songs. And, it's just sort of let's not forget people and making sure that their stories get expanded and not contracted. There is a natural tendency over time for especially big celebrities to have their stories contracted into like a very simple version, which I think is a little unfair, particularly like I'm a huge Elvis guy and spent a lot of time studying his stuff. And, I do panels at Elvis Week and I've been in documentaries about Elvis and podcasts and all kinds of stuff like that. But working with his catalog at Sony, it was my main mission to get his 70s period sort of re-examined, because the short version, the compressed version of the story is he does the 68 comeback special, he goes to Vegas, he does Aloha from Hawaii, he gets fat and he dies. And I'm like, no, that's not exactly what happened. So let's unpack this and sort of move on. And we ended up doing a bunch of really cool box set packages that sort of took everything year by year and said, okay, here's what he was doing at this time, and then this time, and this time. Because after a certain point, every single one of his records showed him in a white jumpsuit against a black background with some type on it. And you're like, well, what is this, a live album? Is this a studio? I have no idea what this is. So getting in there and creating campaigns and efforts to explain to people, oh, did you know that he actually worked at Stax recording studios in 1973, like hot off of Isaac Hayes doing stuff and other people, that legendary studio. And here's the songs that he did, and here's some new mixes of them because you should hear them in a fresh way and without overdubs and stuff like that. So it's a challenge for sure, but it's also a heck of a lot of fun to tell these stories and to represent them like that in a way that people haven't thought of before.
John, yeah, you commented on you're also managing Billy Joel's estate. Yeah, I see a guy like Billy Joel. He's going in the other direction, right? He's trending upward. He's got more exposure than ever. The Madison Square Garden runs and that kind of thing. He was just on a CBS show, even with the debacle of it cutting off, and then they had to rebroadcast it and everything. Well, what's an approach you take there? Because you think, how do you archive and come up with something in terms of like of a legacy thing for a guy that's just as relevant, regardless of his, let's say maybe his career as a live artist might be phasing down a little bit.
Well, so Billy, I'm only serving as his archivist. I have nothing to do with
Okay.
any of the other management stuff. So with Billy, it's interesting because he's always said he only wants his records to be the record of his career. And
No.
and if you want to hear his music, go listen to his records. He even hates like greatest hits compilations or anything of that nature. So it is interesting, but so right now the job is basically to digitize everything so that we don't lose it. A lot of tapes and videos and slides and original home family pictures and stuff like that are literally disintegrating in people's like hot storage bins and stuff like that all over the world.
Yeah.
Um, but then it's what is the career? Like what did happen, every day as he went along, and things like, press clippings or I think that the team, and this is the same with Bruce Springsteen and Bob Dylan and every other major artist, is there will be interest in it in the future. So we have to now protect it, digitize it, make sure that it's sort of future proof, so that when that videotape that's sitting there maybe it has mold on it, or is in danger of falling apart
Yeah.
or whatever, when that ends up falling apart, like, do we have that television appearance or that music video or that one of a kind live set that he did in Japan in 1980 or whatever? So that's I'm going through slides and picture prints and negatives and videotapes and film. I mean, the amount of film that exists on a project, for even a music video or an EPK or something like that, that's 5 minutes. There might be 4 hours of film that got done. So, we open up a can and does it smell like vinegar? And if it does, you better get that transferred real quick. Or maybe it might be too late. Or we just had tapes, audio tapes that we purchased in an auction that were literally the first recording sessions that he ever did in 1964 and 65 with a band called the
Wow.
Lost Souls on Long Island. And we wanted to buy them to have them and to put them in the vault, but we also wanted to buy them so that nobody else bought them and is out
Sure.
there, bootlegging, and so there's a protection aspect to it, as well as a historical, you know, what did happen every day in 1976 in this guy's career. And isn't that amazing? Again, for the future, so that we can always tell this story.
I can totally relate to that. In the fall, I had my own personal family's media digitalized, and all of that media that you forget about, the years of shooting videotape at the kids playing baseball, you never watch it again. And to capture it and be able to watch it on a thumb drive, and so I could relate to the treasures that you're finding. The Wolfgang Van Halen talks about all the media in Eddie's studio,
Hmm.
that they have to get to it. You have to
Hmm.
bake it. You have to preserve it. And that's exactly what you're talking about, the technical ends. And a lot of this media you have is 50 years old. You see on YouTube recently that Led Zeppelin Chicago 8 millimeter that was restored and colorized, and it
Hmm.
looks fantastic. There's
Hmm.
this guy on YouTube that's doing it to old NFL um, films, not the company NFL films, but the old broadcast games. So is that what you're talking about? The endless piles of treasures that you're going through. How
Oh,
exciting
absolutely.
is that?
It's incredibly exciting. Or speaking of Van Halen, that Donington '84 show that came out, about 6 months ago and was immediately pulled down.
Yeah.
But it was, one of the film cameras kind of on the side of the stage. And that's like the legendary show. And you go, how has this existed for 40 years and they never did anything with it?
We,
Um,
we Yeah, we spoke with Brian Diamonds, that was a producer at MTV during the heyday. He talked about the whole OS festival, and
Yeah.
that's the exact thing I was asking him. I'm like, there has to be just piles of B-roll that's sitting in some vault.
Yep.
That there has to be Randy Rhoads footage that's not out. There has to be Van Halen Pro Shot from '81 that isn't out.
Oh,
Um,
sure. I mean, there's Elvis footage that continues to get found, somebody that's at that level, or is rumored to exist. They know somebody filmed a show in Toledo, Ohio in 1956. And there's pictures of the film cameras that are doing it. And it's like, well, where is that? Come on, where
Where
is
is
it?
it?
And when you look at it from the artist perspective, now there's more opportunity than ever to get that stuff out there and actually monetize it in a way. It's like
Hmm.
every artist has what you're talking about with your family, but it's like under my bed, I've got, all these VHS tapes of like the rehearsal from the 1985 concert tour. I'm like, yeah, everyone wants to see that. All of your fans want to see that. Cut it up. Let's digitize it. Let's make it available. Put it on your YouTube channel, make it so you block everybody else from putting it up, that sort of thing. But it's the mechanism to get that stuff to people is now, I mean, YouTube is the biggest website in the whole world. Billions of people use it every month. And it's like, you have a channel, get it up on that channel.
No, it's and with the let's say the first round of classic rock artists or even metal artists in that respect of our show, they're aging, they're retiring, they're passing on. I mean, we always say we got maybe 5 to 7 more years of the bands that we grew up before they're all gone. And yeah, we always want to root for have the next round or next generations of artists coming through to have new bands to play music of the type of genre that you like, despite the kind of genre that you like. But there's a whole market out there, and I'm sure a company like yours, John. I mean, you could have places all over the world and have a team of 150 people if you wanted to, with all of the legacy footage that might be out there sitting around.
Oh, absolutely. It's endless. I mean, even if you just look at the channel that like the Midnight Special has started, that
Yeah.
like I mean, people freak out at those every time they put a new clip up. It's like, oh my God, have you seen this clip of Aerosmith or, whomever? And it's amazing. And then to see it from the original source in, HD or 4K or whatever they're upresing it to, is so much better than it's like, Jimmy's bootleg from down the street on VHS from 50 years ago or whatever. So, it's an important part of the saving of it, the satisfying of the existing fans, but also turning on new people, which is another hugely important part of it. I mean, how many bands have been forgotten about over the years because they just didn't keep up with the feeding of that appetite.
yeah, you talk about YouTube and old bootlegs. How many times have any of us killed a couple hours going down a YouTube rabbit hole? You go from one to another. Next thing you know, 2 hours later, you're watching old Scorpion videos from '74, and it's like, how did I get here? So,
Right. Exactly.
well, John, this is fascinating. We could go on all day, but the Bon Scott celebrating his 78th birthday again, Tuesday, July 9th. Where can people get all the information? And you got an official website? Let's share that.
BonScottOfficial.com is the website that has links to everything on it, ticketing links, store links, news links, all of that stuff. So if anyone wants anything, just go to BonScottOfficial.com.
And to just clarify one thing on that, you said the Bon Scott family will be present to the concert. They'll be at the Wembley ACDC shows.
Correct. Correct. Not
Okay.
the New York shows. Yeah, I mean, Western Australia to New York is kind of a haul, so they're
All
they're
right.
leaving it up to me to put this on.
All right. Oh, any parting shots before we let John go?
No, John, it was cool. Good insight. And we love to have guys like you on because, like John said, we could go on for hours and hours and hours. We'd love to have you back on our show again. We'll talk some more.
Of course. And if you guys want to come to the show, just let me know.
Okay.
Will do. He's
right.
down the street. I'm up here in the
I'm
rock,
down that
but-
way. I will check my schedule and I'll hit you up if I can make it for sure.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks, John.
Appreciate it very much.
Thanks,
good
John.
Bye-bye.
Metal for Life.
Thank you for listening to Metal Mayhem ROC. Check out our website at metalmayhemroc.com for information on podcasts, archives, links to all our live radio shows, and all sorts of info. Please like, follow, and share with everyone, even your non-metal friends. And always remember to keep it heavy.